All right.
Welcome back from Thanksgiving, Hawk Nation, and welcome to episode 3 of the HNU HawkCast. Jake Ward with you here as we recap basketball results from the Thanksgiving week, as well as have our weekly conversation with men's basketball head coach Omar Sanchez, and we get you prepared for the upcoming conference play that's right around the corner. But we're going to start with women's basketball as the Hawks finished up their Washington road trip taking on Central Washington last Wednesday. And unfortunately for the Hawks, they came out on the losing side 70-82. However, a lot of positives to take away for the Hawks in that game as they scored at least 16 points in 3 of the 4 quarters, including 20 in each of the first and third quarters. Ariana Hernandez led all scorers in the game with 20 points and was 4 for 8 from beyond the three-point line, which now gives her the lead in the Pacific West Conference with 17 three-pointers made thus far through the season. Drenasia Martin pulled down a team-high 13 rebounds, and that gives her a total of 27 in the trip out to Washington as she had 14 against Seattle Pacific the night before. Taylor Krause is now up to 193 assists after she grabbed 6 against Central Washington. She's 7 away from 200 career assists and is 38 assists away from becoming number 10 in women's basketball school history in assists. So that's something we'll be keeping our eye on as we move forward. Overall in the game, the Hawks did shoot 39.7% from the floor, a pretty good mark considering that they did come out on the losing end of that, as well as they hit 50% of their three-pointers in the first half, so a couple good positives to take away there. The Hawks had a game later on in the week as well. This time, this past Saturday, they took on UC Merced in an exhibition contest from Tobin Gymnasium. Unfortunately, they did drop the contest 79-49 to the Bobcats. 2 players for the Hawks scored in double figures, led by Ariana Hernandez with 13, added another 3 three-pointers, and Taylor Krause dropped 11 of her own. Drenasia Martin had a team-high 6 rebounds as she continues to pad her team lead in rebounds. The men, on the other hand, had a couple of games as they played in the NDNU Thanksgiving Classic, and unfortunately a pair of losses for the Hawks. But again, as the theme with this season, a lot of positives to build on. And we'll touch a little bit more on these games as we sit down with head coach Omar Sanchez, which you'll hear right after the break. So stick with us as we dive into men's basketball with men's basketball head coach Omar Sanchez.
Welcome to the HawkCast, presented by HNU Athletics.
And we're back with Omar Sanchez here on the HNU HawkCast as we recap the HNU men's basketball team effort in the NDNU Thanksgiving Classic over this past Friday and Saturday. So, Coach, Friday, Saturday, couple of losses, but a couple good things to focus on. Let's start first with Friday in the 79-67 loss to Concordia Portland. You guys were outscored 49-30 in the first half, but came back and actually won the second half 37-30. What positives did you see in that second half?
Well, for us is understanding that if we can defend in the half court and get the stops that we need, that we can play with anybody. And Concordia, to their credit, were very fundamentally sound. They made us do some things that were completely out of character. We jumped out of position. We missed rotations, which is not what we normally do in the half court, and which led to easy buckets for them. And to their credit, they were able to stick those. And so that first half, it took us a while to adjust to that. In the second half, we came out and really pressured them, and realized that the pressure was going to help get us some turnovers and some stops, which we ended up doing that. And so. But, we dug ourselves such a deep hole in the first half that the second half, even though we won that second half, it just wasn't enough.
Now, another positive to focus on, a season low, a game low, 11 turnovers in that game. How were you guys better at handling the ball?
Well, that's the thing, is that's our goal, is we try to limit 11 turnovers per game. And we do a good job of taking care of the ball. Some of the turnovers were good turnovers. I do believe that there is a such thing as a good turnover when you're trying to work in your offense, and the bad turnovers are the ones where you kind of try to throw the one-handed pass that you don't need to, or you jump in the air and try to throw a pass and it goes out of bounds. But I think for the most part we were pretty solid on the turnovers and really took care of the ball. What hurt us is, again, the defensive side of the ball, but also, we got similar possessions. It's just what they did with their possessions was a lot more efficient than what we did with ours. And some of the things that we're trying to fix is, recognizing what's a good shot and what's a bad shot and what we do. And so.
Now, Alonzo led the Hawks with 15 points. Andre Green finished with 13. Rob Fuller added 7 assists to lead the team. And you guys actually did have a pretty good game shooting beyond the arc. You had a season-high 9 threes in this game. Jake Dean, 3 for 4. Cameron Finney, 3 for 7. So what was working with the shot that night?
I always think that basketball is simple. And as players, we tend to make it more complex than it needs to. And so for us, it's just keeping things simple and understanding that if you visit your progressions in our offense, then you're going to get smart shots and you're going to get easy shots. And so I felt like we were a little bit quicker at the guard spot, which caused us to collapse the defense a little bit better against Concordia. And it led to wide open shots, so guys were ready to shoot the ball. And so it allowed us to kind of be at a place where we were getting some of those easy three-pointers.
And overall from the floor, you guys shot 38.3% that game. Not a bad shooting effort. As we look at the game on Saturday against number 24 St. Martin's. Now, St. Martin's came in averaging 81 per game, but you guys held them to just 77 in that game. So how was the defensive effort that night?
Well, we knew we had to defend the three-point line against St. Martin's because they put them up. I believe they shot 31 of them against us, if I recall correctly. And even though they hit 10, we held them to a really good percentage. So we defended. What hurt us against St. Martin's is the rebounding. We gave up about 13 offensive rebounds in that game, which is so far in this young season, has been something we haven't given up. It's one of those things where you have to keep it all together. You got to remember that you got to finish plays. And to their credit, they crashed really hard, and we didn't do a good job of recognizing that. And they made us scramble in the right way. They made us scramble, and they found their guys. They know how to find their guys. And so they were able to get some of the easier shots, which took us a while to adjust. But I felt like we defended really well against St. Martin's. We just couldn't get enough stops to give ourselves an opportunity to get them. But we were up in that game in the second half very shortly, but nonetheless, it was a good confidence booster for our guys to know that we can compete even with the top 25 in the country.
Yeah, 9 lead changes in that game and a couple of game highs on the Hawks as well. Alonzo Taylor finished with a game high 21 points. He was 3 for 7 from three-point distance. Rob Fuller added a game high 4 assists. You guys were able to kind of have some success. What positives do you take as we're gearing up to get ready for conference play just around the corner?
Well, we had a different lineup against St. Martin's because they play small. And so we had to go small. There was no way I was going to have our bigs have to run around and chase their guys. And so I think that really helped us a lot. Some of the positives that I take is that when we simplify things, that we can be more efficient. And if we really utilize our defenses correctly, our full court press right now is really doing really well. We're giving up 0.452 points per possession, which is really good. And so if we can sparingly use that, and we did that against St. Martin's and was able to get some turnovers, I think it'll help us kind of figure it out on the offensive side a little bit better. But a lot of good things in that game is just giving ourselves a chance and putting a full game together and not getting out rebounded. We want to win the rebound battle. We want to be able to take care of the ball. And we really want to be able to win the 50-50s, that take charges, get on the floor for loose balls, and create our own luck.
Yeah, one of the good things in that game, you shot 46.9% from the floor overall. That was just 1% off your guys' best effort this season when you had 47.6 against Cal State Monterey Bay. Now, let's dive into some of the numbers. I know you're a big guy on points per possession. So what do the numbers tell you so far through the season?
Well, offensively right now, that Stanislaus game really had us start off pretty bad. But it's been increasing. We started off after our first weekend at 0.452 points per possession in the half court, and I think we've gotten that up. We're up to 0.7 points per possession, which is still not great, but I definitely want to see that climbing as we go into conference. And so we made some adjustments in practice. We'll continue to make some adjustments this week in practice to kind of fix that. And then our transition piece is, we need to make sure that we're making smarter choices in transition and be able to push the ball and get some easy buckets. Because if we're struggling in the half court, we got to find other ways to be able to score. And a good way for us to do it with our speed is to get up the floor. And so offensively, those are the two pieces that I'm really looking at right now. And then defensively is, again, the half court. It went up a little bit, but we're still at 0.8 points per possession. If we can keep that in the 0.7 range, I think we'll do well. And what I liked about this weekend is we got better in transition. We were giving up 1.2 points per possession in transition, which had now dropped to 1.02, which is a lot better. So, just being able to put it all together and compete for 40 minutes, I think is what this group is really going to be challenged with. And if we can stay focused in what we're doing and understanding that game to game plans are going to change. If we can execute those game plans, I think we'll be in a really good position.
Yeah, you guys have had really good second halves pretty much most of the season, but like you said, it's kind of starting the game out that you guys start a little slow and it takes you a little bit to get in there. Is there maybe a key or anything that you guys can focus on to maybe get off to a little bit of a better start opening the game?
Yeah, just simplifying what we do. Right now, the way I'm trying to get them to play is too complex for them. And so this... starting today in practice, we ended up switching up how we're going to start games and what we're doing to simplify things so that they don't have to think too much. And really understanding, again, like I said, what is a smart shot. And sometimes we work to get a good shot to pass that up to get a difficult shot, and that hurts us. And so just being able to coach them through that and teach them that what we're doing is kind of counterproductive to what we need them to do. And so we had a great practice today and fixed some things, and I think we continue to do that tomorrow and again at Azusa on Wednesday. And I think we'll be climbing the ladder when it comes to progress.
Awesome. So that has been a look back at last week's games. Stick with us after the break. We'll still be talking with Omar Sanchez as we get ready to have the Hawks go into conference play against Azusa Pacific and Biola. So stick with us after the break. And we're back, Hawk Nation. We're here with men's basketball head coach Omar Sanchez as the Hawks get ready to head down to SoCal for a couple of games to open the Pac West play for the 2018-2019 season. Now, Coach, how would you assess your team's performance through your non-conference games thus far through the season?
Well, I think we've had a good balance of teams that we've played. You look at those preseason rankings, and we opened up with Stan, who's, preseason picked 4th, and then you got an East Bay team who's preseason ranked 10th or 11th. And then the following weekend with Monterey and Chico, obviously we didn't get to play Chico, but Monterey's picked at the bottom, and so it's good to kind of take care of those games. And to show well against the better teams. And this last weekend you got St. Martin's, who's picked number 1 in the GNAC at preseason, and so it's good to be able to compete with that level. And then Concordia, for us, it hurts us when we don't show well against teams like that because they're picked at the bottom. And so, but, we got a fair balance of getting some of the good teams and some of the not so good teams. I mean, for me, it's kind of relative because we'll see how people end up. You look at East Bay, who's right now 5-1, and so it's all relative. And so for us, just being able to get a good balance and understanding that getting into conference, that we can compete with some really good teams, we just have to understand how that's going to look.
Now, have you tried experimenting kind of with your starting five or your lineups, or maybe some of your rotations through the game, and kind of what's been working for you, or what's something you think you might try as we get ready to start conference?
Well, we're pretty deep, and having depth sometimes can not be good for you because guys are not getting the same amount of minutes. And so because we are deep, I think sometimes we have guys that wander mentally and sometimes get in the game and aren't ready to go. And so we've had some very different lineups for different reasons. Obviously, like I said, against St. Martin's, we started small because they were small and effective doing that, and I didn't want to take a chance with us being bigger. But I think we're pretty much set in how we're going to play this year. And for us, it's about being able to spread the floor whenever we can and play fast as much as we can, but also learning how to build a lead and know how to sustain a lead and know how to wear a team out. And we have a process for that, and I feel like our guys are bought into that, and so we get to really head into this week in our first week of conference figuring out how well that's going to work.
And it's going to be a tough test as you guys start out. On Thursday, you guys face Azusa Pacific, who so far is only 3-4, but they were picked to finish second in the conference. They did have 2 first-place votes. They're averaging 72.1 points per game right now. So what do you know about Azusa, and how will you prepare for them?
Well, Coach Leslie, I have a lot of respect for at APU, and, I don't think we've beat them. I think we're 0 however many times we've played them. In the past, they possessed a different challenge in the sense of, they're very system oriented. In the past, they do, like, defensively, we've struggled with their 1-3-1. But I think we've gotten better at being able to manage those pieces. We have, like I said, depth that we can put some guys out there that can make them pay for how they defend us. And if they don't, then being able to run our regular stuff. But their 3-4 record is a little, I don't know. I mean, they played some really good competition, and they opened up that weekend where they played 4 Division II teams and struggled a little bit. And so just like most people, they're trying to figure out how they're going to play and what they're going to do when they play. But they do have a 2-3 zone. And again, right now, our Achilles heel has been the 2-3. We're averaging only 0.45 points per possession on zone. And so we'll be ready for their zone and see if we can be effective in the zone and be able to stick open shots. I mean, we're getting the shots. It's just right now they haven't been falling for us. But I have faith in our shooters that they're going to get in the gym and be able to shoot their way out of some of these issues.
Now, the last 2 games for Azusa Pacific, they're shooting 42% from beyond the 3-point line. How will you guys kind of be able to defend them out on the perimeter?
Well, they get it in different ways, right? Because they have stretch 4s that can really pop out and get that, but they also have guards that can penetrate and kick and find their guys. And so they do a good job of finding them. For us, we have to win the one-on-one battles. And I think if we can limit our rotations defensively and keep people in front of us and get contested jumpers, we can live with that. But if we're missing rotations and they're penetrating deep on us, then we're going to be scrambling and trying to catch up. And so I think for us defensively, being able to stay in front of them, limit them to one and done because they do crash. They have a really athletic big that keeps balls alive for them. And so we need to make sure we're keeping people off the boards.
Now, you guys will have a day off, and then you will travel and face Biola on Saturday to begin December, on Saturday, December 1st. Now, Biola not picked as well in conference. They were picked to finish 7th in the Pac West, but right now they are 4-2, and they're averaging 76.3 points per game. So how do you, what's the difference between a team like APU and then facing a team like Biola?
Well, Biola's scheduled it a little bit differently than APU, right? Where they've played a West Coast Baptist team, who I don't know what division they are, and then you got St. Catherine's, who's an independent, I believe. They played them twice, and then they played a D3 school in Pomona-Pitzer, and I think it backfired on them. They ended up losing by 30 to a Pomona-Pitzer, which I think hurts them. But it's all in philosophy. I mean, coach likes to play earlier, play easier teams, I guess, and try to get their group going. But, coach is very methodical about what he does. And they're 3 out, 2 in, and they like to do different things with high-low. They lost their freshman big that I thought was really good last year. and he ended up transferring out this year. And so they have a different look, but they get their kid back that last year got injured and had to sit out. Their other 6'6" kid that'll be there. So, they're very system oriented, and if you can disrupt that system consistently, I think we'll be okay against Biola. But, Biola, there's a bad taste in my mouth. I mean, we had them up 16 here with less than 6 minutes to go and ended up losing by 1. We went there and competed and battled and also was up in that game. And then the score definitely didn't reflect how good of a game that was and how close we were. But for us, it's about getting over the hump and really proving if whether we belong or not. And I think opening up against APU and Biola, who are two really good teams, will show a lot on us.
Yeah, a little bit of a revenge factor with Biola. Now, you were talking about disrupting the system. What areas do you think that you guys will have the most success in disrupting their system?
Well, what they killed us on last year is again, they made us rotate, and based on that rotation, we weren't able to really find their shooters. And they do a good job of, driving that baseline and finding their guys in the corner or at the top of the key. And so we just got to limit rotations against them so that they're forced to shoot jumpers with a hand in their face. And if we can do that, I think it puts us in a better spot.
Awesome. Well, that has been the look ahead as we begin to get set on conference play. Coach, thanks for joining us. Best of luck to you down in Southern California as you take on Azusa and Biola. Stick around as we wrap up the HNU HawkCast right after this.
Hawk Nation, with 3 episodes in the bag, I would like to thank you for listening and following HNU Athletics. With that being said, I just want to give you an idea of what kind of content you can expect to see moving forward with the HNU HawkCast. As basketball season continues, we will of course continue with our regular interviews with men's basketball coach Omar Sanchez as he breaks down his season and how things are going throughout the year. We're also going to be bringing in student athletes so that you, the fans, can get a greater perspective on what it's like to balance an athletic workload along with school. Other segments will include coaches' interviews, season previews, event updates, and more. So keep listening and make sure to subscribe. We really appreciate it.
That does it for episode 3 of the HNU HawkCast. Hawk Nation, I'd like to thank you for listening. Don't forget to follow HNU Basketball online as they travel to Azusa and to Biola on Thursday and Saturday respectively to kick off Pac West play. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next week on the HNU HawkCast.